On the day my sister and I were to choose our husbands, I found myself reborn with a peculiar ability. I could hear the thoughts of others. I heard my sister say, "This time, I'm definitely going to snag a good husband before anyone else." Then, in a hurry, she whisked away the gentle husband I had married in my previous life. The abusive man who had tormented her daily was left for me. I couldn't help but smile. Did she really think the man I had married before was of good character? I had been reborn on the day my sister was to choose her husband. Across the dining table sat two men of similar age. One was Finn, the eldest son of the Parker family, known for his aloof demeanor. The other was Leo, the younger son, a product of an affair, but with a gentle disposition. "This time, I'm definitely going to snag you." My sister's voice echoed in my ears. I glanced at her, but she wasn't speaking aloud. Her eyes were fixed intently on Leo. "I'm going to take you away." It dawned on me that not only had I been reborn, but I could also hear my sister's thoughts. From her words, it was clear she had experienced a rebirth as well. Sure enough, the next moment she moved to sit beside Leo, gazing at him shyly. "Hi, I'm Samantha. I like you," she said sweetly. Suddenly, my father chimed in, "Rachel, since your sister has chosen Leo, you should marry Finn." At this, my sister's eyes gleamed with triumph as she thought, "This time, you'll take my place and endure the beating." In my previous life, my sister had married Finn. He was a successful businessman, always busy, and notoriously cold. Despite her repeated attempts to connect with him, she was met with bruises and rejection. Eventually, due to her inability to conceive, Mrs. Parker deemed her unfit and cast her out of the Parker family. As for me, I had married Leo. Though he held no power in the family, he provided enough for me to live comfortably. He spent his days with me, taking me shopping and dining, showering me with affection. Everyone in the Parker family knew we were happy together. Then, unexpectedly, Finn died from poisoning, and Leo inherited the family business. My status in the family skyrocketed. Jealous of my fortune, my sister had driven her car into me while I was out shopping, leading to our mutual demise. "Sure, Dad, I actually like Finn too," I replied with a smile, moving to sit beside him. I had to admit, Finn's presence was imposing. Sitting next to him felt like being enveloped in a cold aura that made it hard to speak. No wonder my sister had suffered so much at his hands in the past. I tried to listen to his thoughts, but he was silent. However, when Leo looked over at my sister with a smile, I caught a glimpse of his thoughts. What a beautiful little darling. A chill ran down my spine. Instinctively, I reached for Finn's hand. Though he was cold in demeanor, his hand was surprisingly warm. At my touch, he glanced over, and I quickly let go, relieved he didn't say anything. Despite his intimidating appearance, I felt that being with him was better than being with Leo, whom I considered a snake. This time, I was determined to change my previously tragic fate. I wanted to earn a fortune, be independent, and not rely on anyone. My sister and I were to have a joint wedding. In my previous life, we had also held it around this time. Back then, Finn hadn't attended the ceremony, while Leo had arrived bright and early. Everyone remarked that he was the more considerate husband. As expected, this time was no different. Leo, dressed in a white suit, rushed to sweep my sister off her feet. As he passed by me, she looked back with a smug expression. "Samantha, why didn't Finn come to pick you up?" I merely smiled. "Don't worry about me, just take care of yourself." Her face fell at my words. "Laugh now, let's see if you can still laugh after you get beaten." With that thought, she descended the stairs with Leo, but it was too early to say anything. Who would end up laughing last was still uncertain. Finn's absence from the wedding led to much gossip, just like in my previous life, and we both received judgmental glances. My sister was even more delighted, eagerly telling Leo, "I love you, Leo." Then she kissed him, her lips glistening with saliva as she turned to stare at me. I knew she wanted to see me squirm, but I wasn't foolish enough to react like I had in my previous life, storming out in anger. That would only give the guests and the Parker family more ammunition against me. I remembered how they had criticized my sister for being immature and unworthy of being the Parker family's daughter-in-law, which led to her suffering greatly at Mrs. Parker's hands after the wedding. I took the microphone and smiled warmly at the guests below. "Today, Finn has an important business deal to attend to, so I'll be toasting on his behalf. I hope you all don't mind." At my words, the chatter ceased. Mrs. Parker, seated at the head table, looked at me with newfound respect. The Parker family was powerful and valued reputation above all, so as a daughter-in-law, I had to maintain my composure and act like a hostess. My sister noticed Mrs. Parker's gaze and her eyes flashed with anger. "How disgusting. I'll make sure you embarrass yourself during the tea ceremony." Honestly, I found it quite beneficial to hear thoughts. It was like having a golden ticket that made everything easier. When it was time for the tea ceremony, I gracefully lifted my dress and walked toward Mrs. Parker. My sister was fixated on me, silently counting 1, 2, 3. In the next moment, I sidestepped to grab the tea, causing my sister to stumble and fall, soaking herself in the process. "Are you okay?" Leo rushed to help her, but in his mind, he scolded her. What a fool. Everyone turned to look at us. Mrs. Parker's face was a mask of fury. "Clumsy. Do you even have the demeanor of a second daughter-in-law of the Parker family?" I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to." My sister quickly apologized, though her eyes betrayed her resentment. If I were her, I wouldn't act out this time. I would just live my life quietly. But since she didn't want me to have an easy life, I certainly wouldn't hold back either. Because of my sister's blunder, the wedding wrapped up hastily. Mrs. Parker had not given her a single kind glance throughout the event, but when she looked at me, her eyes were filled with satisfaction. She took my hand and said, "Samantha, tonight I'll make sure Finn comes back to keep you company as compensation." As expected, Finn did return that evening. He opened the door, untying his tie, exhaustion etched on his face. I hurried to fetch him some clothes. "Finn, you must be tired today." He merely glanced at me, not responding. In my previous life, I had heard the servants say that Finn hadn't returned on our wedding night. My sister had been left alone in the bridal chamber, becoming the laughingstock of everyone. When she complained to Mrs. Parker, she was scolded for not being able to hold onto a man's heart. As Finn took a shower, I prepared the bed and brewed some tea. Then, I tidied up the sofa, planning to sleep there alone. When Finn emerged, he looked surprised at the sight. I quickly said, "You take the bed, I'll sleep on the sofa." "Samantha, Are you playing hard to get? He narrowed his eyes at me, his bathrobe slightly revealing his chest, droplets of water glistening on his skin. I had to admit, he had a great physique. I quickly averted my gaze. No, it's just that we don't have any feelings for each other, and sleeping together would be awkward for both of us. If possible, I'd like to collaborate with you. What do you mean? After all, this is just a marriage of convenience. Many couples in similar situations live separately and just pretend to be together. I married you to have a secure life. I don't expect anything more. Hearing my words, he suddenly smiled. You're quite clever. I happen to feel the same way. I can agree to that. I was just an ordinary person, lacking the skills to capture a man's heart. After all, in the Parker family, his attitude toward me depended on Mrs. Parker's opinion of me. I didn't want to end up like my sister in my previous life, facing hostility from everyone. That would bring me no benefits. Plus, he had been abusive to my sister before. I didn't want to provoke him and risk being hurt myself. So, I chose to coexist peacefully with him. This time, I only wanted to earn money, start my own company, and rise to success on my own.